So the first common mistake that I see is there's no clear goal. Companies are super busy trying to figure out their product and trying to figure out how to sell it. And what they do with customer success is they say, here's a bunch of customers, make sure they're happy and they don't run away, we need the cash. So that you see some slides that I've prepared for today. But since we're let's say a compact group, we can also make this a dialogue. That's absolutely possible. And it's first and foremost a pleasure to spend the lunch break with you guys. I hope I make this quite entertaining and quite fast paced. A little bit about myself. Today I have my own company. I specialize in two things. One, I do sales trainings for sales teams, independent of any industries. The second thing, I help B2B SaaS companies to improve their customer success and account management functionality. And for small companies, I have a more holistic approach that I'm also representing today with Peakora. At Peakora, I'm the domain expert for customer success. I lead everything there on account management and customer success. And we have a very structured program and a very good partnership with Wille Finance to help you there. Before that, I was the head of, or the VP customer success at Sherpany. I grew the company from 10 to 13 million ARR. And maybe some of you know they had a fantastic exit last February. And there the role was very, very commercial. So my pretty much only target was to increase the revenue. And I was basically able to finance a team later out of up to nearly 30 people just out of the revenue growth. And before that, I built the customer success function at Dropbox for the enterprise product. I'm based here in Hamburg. That's also where Dropbox had the customer success office. Funnily, the first employee that I hired into my team ever in my career is joining me in the office for co-working today. And maybe two things that are pretty constant in my life for the past 18 years. I've always represented B2B IT companies in front of customers. Although today I do it in an indirect way where I help companies like yours to improve that. Besides that, I'm really passionate about education. I try to do at least two educational programs per year. So I'm constantly working on myself. At the moment, I'm doing a course on it's leadership development training, so that I'm able to train new team leads, and that's something that I do. At Peakora, in the last few years, we have been fortunate enough to work with more than 120 companies, and you can see them here grouped by various industries, and we support them in many different ways. So what we've built is one of the best, let's say, educational platforms for tech companies, for SaaS companies in the industry. And it's basically by now a revenue growth system. So we really start by helping companies to find the right product market fit. Then we help them, and we have a separate program focusing on lead gen, on sales. Today, you're talking to the representative of the customer success program. And then we have different programs on CRM and revenue operations. And we have such programs really based on the stage of your startup. So we help very early startups mainly with finding product market fit. And in customer success, I'm only dealing with companies that are either in the go-to-market stage where they have to improve their go-to-market, let's say, capabilities, but also with more mature companies, I help them on scaling that. When we look at scaling, it's a more specialized, let's say, program where we look at the right playbooks, or where we help them to select, for example, a customer success tools. What I would like to focus on today, with your permission, is that we look at the go-to-market phase. So that's more at the, let's say, earlier stage where companies have probably some 10 to 50, 60 employees, and where they are let's say, focusing on figuring out how to set up a customer success team well, if that works for you. Okay, I see some of you nodding. That's great. What I have seen, and I've been fortunate enough to work with more than 50 customer success teams of B2B SaaS companies in the last nearly 3 years. There are some common mistakes, and should you find that you are making one of these mistakes today, that's amazing. Like, that's already the first point taken. Take a small note, jot it down, especially if you're at supervisor, like right over lunch after this call, you can sit down and really look at that. So the first common mistake that I see is there's no clear goal. Companies are super busy trying to figure out their product and trying to figure out how to sell it. And what they do with customer success is they say, here's a bunch of customers, make sure they're happy and they don't run away. We need the cash. That's about as strategic as most companies get that I deal with. And I think that's very, I'm trying to look for a polite word, but that's very, very unprofessional, especially looking at the great talent that you have inside customer success, because without a target, every shot is a hit. And yeah, that's really a problem. The second problem that I see is a lack of sales alignment. There are always interactions between sales and customer success, and there are various options how you slice the responsibilities. We'll look at that later on. But there's no clear alignment. And something that we do as part of my course is we look at all the things that need to be aligned. 80% of them are the same. You get a small dial that you either move to the left or to the right and an appropriate process description, and that's it. But take a decision, communicate it, and implement it. It's as simple as that. Then a poor onboarding with customers. I somehow dislike the constant analogies between business relationships and dating, but it is so true. If you have a poor onboarding, if you don't sort out who's going to do the washing and who's going to unstuck the dishwasher, there will be some conflict. If you do a great onboarding, you really set a good basis for a good relationship. Then your customers are willing to repeatedly give you 100, whatever currency or how much, it doesn't really matter, because they perceive they get at least 110, or they hope that that's their benefit. Now, you need to help them to realize that, and for that you need the impact cycle. Many companies have a poor kickoff, and then yeah, especially with young companies, it's very, very difficult, besides all of these things going on, to build a good structure in the team and also to build an appropriate tool set. However, this is so important, and in 99% of the cases, your CRM is good enough. It just needs some minor adjustments. Actually, quite many companies I deal with believe they need a customer success tool, and that's actually one of the first things that I switch off with most companies because it's not adding value. Now, I want to share a little bit about one of the companies that we've worked with. So Qmea, they build sensors that are mounted on the ceiling in hospitals or in care homes, and they detect if patients fall. Usually you have something that in Switzerland is like somebody is on watch and has to monitor if customers, if patients are falling down. They have these little sensors, they auto detect it. If you're based in Switzerland, I used to live there for a few years. I'm sure you know half of these institutions that are listed down there. 40 plus employees, and we've worked with their customer success team over the past couple of months. Now, the first goal that they had was to establish a professional customer success organization. And you will get access to the slides later on. Yeah, but usually what we see is most CS teams are not really set up for success. It's, hey, here are customers. You don't have enough data. There's a lousy backend, and the CRM is not really adjusted to your needs. But still make sure these customers don't go away. Now, what's missing is a compelling mission statement for these teams. And what do we actually want you to do? You can have an internal and an external version that you communicate to customers, and then clear targets and KPIs. Now, make sure these customers don't walk away. Obviously, there's a retention target, but it's not a clear target. Usually retention rates, yeah, you can either measure the percentage of customers that you are able to maintain, then you're talking about a retention rate. and it's hopefully a target is hopefully somewhere around 95%. The other option is you talk about GDRR, gross dollar retention rate, out of 100 Swiss francs, euros that I ask you to look after, how much will you be able to maintain until the end of the year? Two different metrics. Ultimately, they are retention metrics. And this is really important. I mean, imagine you're hiring CSMs and you say, I mean, we see this when looking at the job descriptions, if a company is well set up or if they are not well set up. And a company that is well set up has clear goals. And this is the first thing that I develop with the companies that we're dealing with. That's why I usually have the CEOs in the calls. And if they don't have a clear idea of what they want from the customer success team, the customer success team won't get anywhere. That's usually the number one problem that I see. And that's really not fair for the customer success teams or account management teams. So yeah, what we usually do is we define a mission. I will show you the mission statement that we formulated for Cumea later on. And then we define a KPI tree. There's a very simple model, and you don't need a lot more than 3 KPIs. I would give you a retention target, an adoption target, and an expansion target. That's it. Three metrics. And then you can have a couple of leading and lagging indicators that point towards this. The more leading indicators, the more difficult to predict, but lagging indicators aren't really good use. And from there, and there's a really nice model that I've built in the worksheet as part of the course, you can even define leading and lagging activities. At some point at Sherpany, I was so far that I said, this is the segment of customers I want you to spend time with, and this is the type of persona that I believe you should be spending time with. And I could exactly measure that in the CRM. There are not really many better systems to do it. And I could immediately see where the behavior is and where the results are. And if the right set of interaction with the right people was met, usually expansion went up very quickly. And this is what we were able to do. Very simple KPI tree. That is one of the first exercises I built as part of my program. And then what you can see here on the right-hand side on the screenshot, your customers purchase your solutions because they want to achieve outcomes, positive business outcomes. There are 5 outcome categories. You can see 3 on the left, the most important ones. I give you 100 because I believe your solution adds 110 as benefit or whatever, or saves me cost or makes me faster or gets down security issues, whatever, loyalty, satisfaction, and so on and so forth. And then there are specific outcomes such as cost reduction, brand reputation, and so on and so forth. And then within your tool, there are drivers that support these outcomes. Hey, do more campaigns, do more transactions, do more videos, do more of this, more analysis. The more you do, the higher your outcome you will be. And here it's only a subset of the entire framework. But there we even go as far as developing messaging templates that you can relay back to the clients. Because you do this and that so often, it's an indication that you have value. And we see this by you utilizing our product so and so often. So really, really important to understand what is it that your customer actually wants to achieve. Funnily, with all of the clients I do this exercise with, they take this to the sales team and say, look, for every handover you do, I want to know what is the outcome that our client wants to achieve. That helps you to do a better kickoff. And that's part of the sales and success alignment. So getting this right and having a structure where you think about this and where you also develop a messaging template and where you also see, okay, what KPI is indicating that our customer is actually achieving this outcome is really, really crucial. And this really defines how your customer thinks about your solution and about ROI. And again, they're only paying you because they believe they get a higher benefit. And ultimately, it's your customer paying your salary. It just takes a detour through your company's pocket. But this is how I basically have everyone thinking about this. Yeah, for the mission statement, this is what Cumea had as a mission statement for the customer success team. So customer success brings our solution alive. We ensure and sustain excellence in the adoption of our solution. We understand and anticipate customers' needs to scale adoption and increase revenue. So you already see they have the customer in focus, but they also have a revenue target in focus. And they proactively manage pain points and links between their internal teams and the customers' teams. That results, thus, we are a trusted partner and we excite care teams. That was their industry. This is why they get up every day. So you have a clear mission statement. This is our North Star. And then you can define some internal and external responsibilities. And what we actually do as part of our program, and this looks very much like work in progress. I deliberately chose this screenshot. We help you in structured steps to think about the targets and the benefits that you need from your customer success team that lead to you being able to develop a target. So yeah, the education platform that we built just for customer success alone has some nearly 50 small modules. Those are like small educational videos between 8 and 15 minutes where we introduce a concept. And then for every module, there's a task that we ask you to do. There's a quick video that tells you how to do the task. And then in the sessions or in the Slack channel, you're actually able to interact with me. We meet with the clients once a week for some time, and we really help you to get going. And what some of our customers find is that some elements that they have already implemented are really, really good. So we tick that box and move on. And some are non-existent. Usually, without any offense, it's the more strategic things that are missing. Clear vision, clear targets. And this is really, what is crucial in my point of view. We then develop targets and KPIs, and here you can see an example of what this would look like. So we have a retention target, an expansion target, and an adoption target. And then there's a clear target. You can see one for the logo retention. In this case, the client went for the logo retention, not for the gross dollar retention rate. And there are targets for expansion and adoption. And then there are some other indicators that they want to measure, plus some relevant activities that they believe that they need to be doing in order for this to move up. And this is actually part of the strategy process that the head of customer success really has to walk through. The smaller the customer success team, the more collaborative this is. The bigger the organization, the more this one is more down to, let's say, the lead and the management to do. And here you can see an example of Cumea. Again, this is a little bit of a work in progress screenshot because this later on went into a wiki page where they have all of these elements that we cover in the course. So the strategic topics, the targets, the responsibilities, later on the journey, the playbooks, the data that they measure, everything ends up in one wiki. So if they onboard a new person tomorrow, hey, here's everything, why we exist, what our goal is, how we do it, and how we measure it, everything in one link. And this is ultimately what we're trying to build. So Cumea was really able to have clear focus areas for their account management and customer success teams on adoption, expansion, and retention. And they also have relevant indicators. Plus, this is probably the most crucial, they are able to clearly communicate to their teams what they expect from them. This is, I hate to say it, this is what I see as the biggest lack in customer success organizations. It usually doesn't get a lot more strategic than, hey, here are our clients, make sure they don't run away. Now that's a great target. I don't know if I would get out of bed for this. Step 3, in order to build a good foundation, is the alignment of responsibilities. And this is a pretty simple exercise if you know what you need to align on. And again, there are 5 to 10 processes between product and customer success. Like, how does the escalation of tickets work? How does the product feedback loop work? And so on and so forth. It's always the same. And if you are so special and you have 2 more, fine. what you get from me as part of the course is basically a framework where you need to, with product, assess, do we have this process? Is it working well? If yes, great. If no, here's a template for a process description. By the way, it's already pre-populated. You can just copy it and go with it, or you can adjust it to your need. Same with sales. Who's responsible for new business? Sales, obviously. But who's responsible for upsell, expansion, and renewal? Always a pain with almost all of my customer organizations, because sales wants to have the commission, but then they're always blaming you. Hey, why is the adoption not going faster? Why is this bad fit customer still not a good fit customer? And so on and so forth. Again, always the same. Now you get some dials where you need to align on the responsibilities, and you get a list of processes that need to be in place for this to work well, plus process descriptions. And if you like the process descriptions, implement them. If you need to adjust them, fine. That's great. And especially, I mean, you get the slides, but if you want to take a screenshot, this is the one. There are more or less 4 options how you can align the responsibilities between sales and customer success. It's a frustration in every company that I work with. And on the top row, yeah, you have the option, and in the top row of the column, you have the pros, and in the bottom row of the column, you have the cons that speak against this, way of aligning the responsibilities. Ultimately, if you look a little bit on the right-hand side, and I actually had this question with the client yesterday. If you think about segmenting the tasks within your customer success team, I have somebody responsible for onboarding, somebody for education, somebody for upsell, somebody for renewal. This is not in the slides, so you want to try to get this start. It's a form of segmentation. You have many ways to segment. One is I have one team for each task. Another form would be by geography, especially relevant for our companies in Switzerland because of the language, because you can segment by industry, you can segment by customer size. There are many ways. And I think ultimately a segmentation by a job to be done internally, you can usually only afford this luxury if you're very, very large. If you have a CS team of 20, 30, 40 people, this is probably not your problem that you have in the beginning. Now, the Cumea outcome, you can see some of the levers here. So on the top side, for example, upsell and expansion, they decided it's our sales team that is responsible. There's collaboration required. When it was the second row is how do we identify opportunities? And there they said we make both teams responsible. But again, to manage the commercials, it was the sales team that is responsible. So yeah, this is basically how they decided. And then we implemented the processes. Further down here, you can see the processes between customer success and product. All of them are required. With one, they weren't really sure. And as you can see, 3 processes are working well, 4 are not, so we need to do something. And here, Cumea was really able to very, very fast implement these processes to make sure that they are up and running. Now with this, the company changed from not having a clear goal and not having a good alignment with product and with sales to actually tick these boxes. And that's a process that takes, depending on how many things you really have to do, but that takes some 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how much time you're able to dedicate to the program. So the second goal was really to define the playbooks, the customer journey, and the processes. And here, the number one focus has to be, as a customer success team, to provide value to your client from day one. So my first interaction is not a blah, blah. It's not a, hey, let's get you on our platform. This is how it works. But this is how you come closer to achieve your goal. And your goal is not making videos, doing transactions. Your goal is, I don't know, looking after patients or shipping goods to customers faster, and so on and so forth. This is why the wheel of the customer is spinning. It's not your solution. Your solution is a gearbox or a turbocharger or whatever. So you really have to help them. So this is ultimately a pretty simple process. From a deal that is closed won, you always have the same 3 phases: onboarding, adoption, expansion. If you do this well, you are contributing to the growth story of your own company and to the growth story of your company, of your organization. And you have your investors because they believe you can achieve this, or you can actually do this well. So this is what we were focusing on. If we zoom in a little bit on onboarding, adoption, and expansion, please speak up if you don't need any of these touch points. So in onboarding, you always have the sales handover. You always have a kickoff. If you skip the kickoff, like, to me, this is a big red flag. This is where you align on the goals. This is where you present your plan to achieve your customer's outcome. And this is where you set the standards of communication. Hey, Mr. Budget Owner, I want to see you once a quarter or twice a year. This is how we work. We want to present to you what we achieved. We need new guidance. And we can already, it's the 6th of March, we can already put in something in our calendar for, I don't know, early August. So you can have this meeting, your first business review, where you celebrate your successes and where you get new directions, more upsells whatsoever. You can make this meeting today. If you're not making your first business review in 6 months, if you're not putting time into your customer's calendar today, you're missing out. And then there's an onboarding on the tool. In the adoption phase, there's always this impact cycle. You do a review, business review. How much benefit were we adding? How many goods did you ship faster or more efficient because of our solution, whatever it is that you do? And what do we want to plan and achieve in the next period? That's an impact cycle. I have another example of this later on. Then you have so-called trigger plays. If a customer clicks here, present this. If a customer runs into a barrier 5 times, give them a call. You can be proactive about that. And then it's all about driving impact. And expansion, you have your renewal, you better get it right, and you plan it well in advance. You might have the expansion, and you actually want to plan expansion to do the right things to get on where you want to get. Plus, you have churn. Hopefully not, but if a customer sends you a termination letter today, in the next 48 hours, you can do many, many things right if you are very well prepared. And you can get some learnings for your internal teams. Plus, if you manage this really well, you can have a positive impact on the relationship. So the churn playbook is completely ironed out, completely ready for you to adopt, so that you hopefully don't need it. But if you need it, you can do it well. Here's an agenda slide of the kickoff. And you even get templates for kickoffs, for business reviews, and so on. And even the agenda slide, it looks ugly because with 2 clicks you have it in your design. But even here, because we're able to work with so many clients and provide really good templates, we are working with meeting scientists and meeting experts to formulate an agenda well, because you can either have no agenda in your meeting. I'm not accepting meetings without an agenda. I'm declining these. Or you can have one. Plus, you can really formulate it well, because if you formulate an agenda with questions, you prime everyone to immediately focus on solving this problem, on answering your questions. So we really go as far as putting a lot of effort into this and helping our clients to do such things well with the templates that we provide as part of the process. And then there's this impact flywheel. So you always have a plan how you achieve the impact. The first version you bring is the one that you present in the kickoff. And then you have some minor adjustments to that. Then you actually implement the stuff, you share it with the customer, and then you sit down and see, okay, what successes did we actually achieve and what do we want to do next? So this is why, and I hope you don't keep it as a secret, this is why customer success is so complicated. Sales is very linear. Are you interested? Yes, we continue. No, we drop out. Do you want to look at our software? Yes, we continue. No, we drop out. Do you want to close a deal? Yes, we continue and hand over to CS, or we drop out. Customer success goes on for years, and it's always a cycle. And this is why it is so complex. And yet there's so little attention dedicated to a good strategy and so on and so forth. So this is really the flywheel that we implement with our clients, and to make sure that this is understood and even implemented. And then we have playbooks for all the touch points that I showed to you earlier. Let me quickly go back. For these ones, we have playbooks already written. You only need to adapt them to your needs, and you will always need to adapt something. And you can see one other template for the churn interview. You can see it here. Again, you want to do this well. So you want to, for your major touch points, you really want to build out playbooks, have your email templates, your document templates ready. Also, you want to train these touch points. Most of CSMs actually hate me because we sit down in fake calls and we simulate these things. I mean, if your kids play football, they also go to training. They don't just go to the Saturday match. It's the same. Your sales team does the same. Most customer success teams don't, and they're actually kind of afraid. They're pushing back. And make sure that you adjust your CRM for these playbooks. If you run business review meetings, if you run a churn interview, you should be able to log this stuff in HubSpot. And it's super simple. It's a meeting type. It's a property that you can actually enter. And then here we have a playbook designer. As I said, there's one example of the kickoff. The rest is built out in the templates that our customers work with. And yeah, we look at things such as the trigger. What's the goal for us? What's the outcome for our customer? Who's responsible? What are we measuring? What technology are we using? Who's the DRI for this playbook? What's the input needed from the previous step? Hey, if I want to do a good kickoff, I should better know why they even bought us in the first place. If I don't have this information, I'm not doing a kickoff. So please, sales, fill in your handover notes. Then, super important, which beliefs and decisions do we need to lead the customer to progress? And how do we lead them or provoke them? So you think about the psychology and about the questions that you're actually seeing, and much more. Plus, add links to your tools, to your backend, and so on, where you can do this stuff. That's a way of being efficient. Imagine each column being a page in your wiki. Hey, how did a churn interview go again? Here's the template for the invitation. Here's the template to run the interview. And product wants to know this as well. Write it down, do it. Very simple. So with this, Cumea was really able to improve their onboarding, establish an impact cycle, and also improve the kickoff. And lastly, they had a CRM and there was a bit of structure. And one of the big debates was, hey, which CSM tool do we buy? Well, guess what? You don't buy any, because usually you don't need it. You just need to think about what you need, and you need to do this well. It's super simple. What you see here is let's say a configurator or a designer for a health score. So a health score can either be an indicator of how healthy this customer is. It can also be a trigger for some action. Hey, give them a call. If you think about the entire data topic, I don't know any company who has enough data. I don't know any company where the data is in a usable form and where anybody says, I have the data where I need it, how I need it, actionable, automated. It's never going to happen. It's never going to be that way. However, you can improve that if you're really, really systematic about it, not strategic, systematic. Very simple. Again, in our course, we have an entire module on data. Ultimately, what you want to achieve is operational excellence. Below operational excellence, there are two things. You want to understand, is my team doing the right stuff? For this, you need dashboards. Dashboards is a collection of reports. Reports is made from data. So ultimately, you need data. On the other hand, you want to automate stuff. So you need triggers. Triggers can be artificial data points, such as a health score. A health score is a combination of various data points. And if we are above 100, then it's good. And if we are below 50, it's bad. Example. So you need individual individual triggers plus health scores. And again, they are made from data. So what I've actually built is a genius structured Google Sheet template where you can design the dashboards you need. Again, most of the dashboards, they are pretty clear. You want to look at your customer landscape. How many do I have? Where are they? What languages? What plan? Everything about the contracts and everything about the behavior of my team. Is my team doing the right activities with the right people, with the right customer? Very simple. And then on the other hand, it's always the same data points and triggers and health scores that we need. So we have already done the work for you and identified them. And what you then basically need to do lastly, you need to prioritize them and you need to build a story in front of your product team or in front of your CEO or whomever, why you need this one more urgent and why you actually need it more urgent than the guys from sales. And that's pure storytelling. So you say, hey, I need AirPods to have good calls, to close more deals, to improve revenue. We've built the same systematic way for data points so that you can build your story and ultimately advocate internally to do that. What we also have as part of this module is everything around how to run a good customer success team. So should you do an annual kickoff? Yes, no. How do you do it? And so on and so forth. How do you run your team meetings? How do you run your one-on-ones? And why do you only do your one-on-ones on Mondays and not on any other day? Because one-on-ones on Friday is a waste of time. We're all going to go for a party on the weekend and Monday is a new day. So we go down very far as all the meetings, all the structures that you need and help our clients. And this is what we've also done with Peakora to actually help them to improve really, really good leadership. Now we end up on building the right foundation that you need in terms of the strategy and the targets and the playbooks, because then your team adds value, adds dollars, and then you're ready to scale. So rather than hiring more people that look after customers or make sure they don't run away, build a structure first to do this well and to be very, very efficient. And again, this is an insight into one of the program. It's the Expand Existing Clients program that we launched, and some of the outcomes that Peakora was able to have after some time, after 6 months, is that they really have a focused team with a clear mission and clear responsibilities. There is ambitious targets where even the team said, oh, wow, this is pretty ambitious. But then on the other hand, it was, hey, we believe you achieve this target by doing more of this with these people. Clarity in communication, clear as kind. We defined the right customer outcomes. We aligned, this is one of the biggest sources of friction. We aligned the processes between product and CS and sales and CS. We actually built a really good customer journey that has the relevant phases and within each phase, the relevant touch points. We established the playbook. This is, by the way, something that you can do with your team really, really well. So the more strategic work is usually to the more strategic people. And then the operational part, how do we actually do it? Collecting the material, or if it's not existent, building the material or adapting our template. This is something that you can do with our help. Plus then we need to measure how all of this works and how to do it well. And I hope that I have given you some insights into how we do it.